Hey guys, thank you so much for being a part of tonight's event. If you missed any posts at all, they're all numbered. And so you can use the search bar right at the top of this page and type in post number 1, post number 2, and find any of the ones that you missed. We'll wait a little bit too before we draw all of our winners, and we'll announce them right here on this page and get your addresses and send the prizes out. My name's Krista Deary. I live in Minnesota. It's finally warming up. In fact, we just had dinner out on the patio, which felt amazing. And holler at me. Am I even on the info page? I sure hope so, because suddenly I'm psyching myself out a little bit. Anyways, we live in Minnesota. I am. Okay, I see. We have 8 kids, 4 boys, 4 girls, ages 18 down to 2. One of my kiddos has special needs. We homeschool a bunch of them. I mean, I guess right now everyone's kind of homeschooling, but we homeschool some of them, not all of them. And my husband and I are both home full time with our family, which has been a dream for years and was made possible by Plexus and by this opportunity. And, you know, from a young age, my dream was to be a mom. That was it. I have found so many old like school pages and stuff from when I was a kid, and it would say like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be a mommy. And even when I met my husband, he had pages and pages full of all of these grandiose dreams. And I remember him asking me, we were newly dating, and he was like, what's your dream? And I was like, I don't know, to be a wife and a mom. Like, that was it. That was all I wanted to be in life, a wife and a mama. I nannied before I got married and loved it so much. I learned so much, and it was all I dreamt of. I remember being in school to be an elementary teacher. I don't know why, because I didn't really want to be an elementary teacher. I wanted to be a homeschool mom. And literally, I'd be sitting in the classroom for elementary ed, but I'd be doodling what my homeschool classroom would look like when I was a mama. I mean, guys, it's all I dreamt of. I didn't dream of owning a business. I didn't dream of what my house would look like or anything. I just dreamt of children. We got pregnant pretty quick after our wedding day, and Josiah was our firstborn son. And pretty quickly, I realized motherhood wasn't all I had dreamt it to be. And I remember so many moments being super frustrated and even in tears telling Chad, I was way better as a babysitter than I am as a mom. Why? Because when I was a babysitter, I didn't have the lack of sleep. I didn't have the crazy hormone imbalance. I hadn't gone through pregnancy and breastfeeding and my body being depleted of every nutrient, right? And so with Josiah, smack, like I got right into it with postpartum depression. His whole first year is a blur, and my memories feel dark. Like if I look back at his first year, it's as if we always had the lights off. It's weird to me, but it's as if it was just dark all the time and our lights were always off and it was always gloomy. I know that wasn't the case, but I didn't realize until I came out of it. When I had hindsight, I was like, oh my goodness, that was postpartum depression. I was really battling it. And that was something I battled after every baby. I had great pregnancies. I felt fantastic actually during my pregnancies. I thought labor and delivery was super cool. We've had a lot of home births and water births, but that postpartum period was always so hard. And with that, that affects more than just your mood. You know, that affects your whole home. That affected my patience with my children. That affected my ability to be present with my children and just simply enjoy life as being their mama. I felt like I was striving to be who I wanted to be, to be patient and calm and happy for the people I loved the most. But sadly, the ones I loved the most got the worst part of me. You know, because I could fake it. If we went to church or we had to go somewhere, I could fake it long enough to be happy and smiley for people, but I could let my guard down at home and be sad and exhausted and snap at my children easily or just want to check out from life. And I hated it. I hated it. I hated the guilt that came with it and the shame that came with it. Well, if you'd couple postpartum with also trauma, that is where I found myself when I heard about Plexus. When I had my 6th son, Judah, his birth was beautiful. Actually, it was such a lovely birth. My first water birth, I think. Wait, I gotta go back on that one. I think he was my first water birth. Anyways, when he was 5 weeks old, we realized he had suffered 2 spontaneous brain hemorrhages, and it jolted our family. It still jolts our family today. We caregive for this sweet little boy. He has changed our world in every way, but y'all, it's been super hard. He's 8 years old, but we do everything for him. He cannot sit, he cannot crawl, he cannot walk, he cannot feed himself or get himself dressed. There's a lot that goes into his care. And I literally stuffed every heart pain, faith question, all the emotions trying to just function and fix my son. I jumped from trauma and pain and shock of what just happened to my child, what just happened to my family. I jumped right into how do I help him? And I'd be up late at night Googling every out there therapy, hyperbaric chambers. We did that for a while. I mean, we were doing all kinds of things to try to help Judah be all he could be. But just like is true for any mom, it doesn't matter if you're a special needs mom or not, you can lose yourself in motherhood. And, you know, they tell you got to take the mask first before you give the mask to little ones, something like that when you're on an airplane, right? I wasn't doing that, but it's so true. We need to do that. It's so easy for us to put our kids first, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But mamas, if you're not taking care of yourself and investing in yourself, you're not doing a good job caring for your little ones either, you know? And I put everything into Judah. Every extra dollar went to Judah. Every extra bit of time went to Judah. But in that, I ended up with what they call caregiver burnout. My hair was falling out. My thyroid was swollen. I was being checked for thyroid cancer. I was losing weight. I could not keep weight on my bones. I was just very frail, very weak. I was taking pain medication every 4 hours. And really not thriving at all. I saw many different doctors, holistic and regular. I don't know what you'd call a regular doctor. But I was seeing everyone I could to try to get better, and no one could offer me hope. I remember one doctor in particular saying, Krista, your body is failing you. You've had all of these pregnancies back to back. You've lost so much nutrition to these babies. You've gone through trauma and chronic stress and chronic fatigue with how much we were up with Judah. Your body is failing you. Like, that's all he could tell me. He gave me some thyroid medication, and that was it. Just sent me on my way. It was just so great. We got pregnant with Malachi, a little bit of a surprise pregnancy, especially given where my health was at. Got pregnant with Malachi. And, like I mentioned earlier, I was always prone to postpartum depression. We always braced ourselves for that first year. We knew it was going to be hard. But when you couple that postpartum depression with PTSD, with trauma, with unhealed heart pain, unhealed faith questions, unhealed wrestling with the Lord, and the love of a Heavenly Father, you get a hot mess express. And that's where I was at. When I heard about Plexus, Malachi was like, he was a baby. I don't remember how old he was. A month? I don't know. He was a newborn. And I had barely mentioned on Facebook PTSD flashbacks. I was very private about my life and very private about my struggles. I was just barely starting to experience the power of transparency and really letting people fully know our story. But at that time, it was just scratching the surface. And a friend of mine named Heather, so sweet, just as shy as I was, she reached out to me. And she didn't reach out to me because she needed a sale. She reached out to me because she saw me post about PTSD, and she knew that she had something that would help me. It made no sense to me that a diet drink, that's what I thought it was, a diet drink could help me at all. And I blew her off because it didn't look like what I was used to using. It didn't look like my herbs, my vitamins that were from my chiropractor. It didn't look like my fancy essential oils. It didn't look like everything else I had tried and that I had esteemed as like the best of the best. It didn't look like the answer I was praying for. Have you ever been in that situation? I'm literally sitting in a house right now that we prayed for months, and come to find out it had been on the market all 7 months that we are praying for this house. Why? We didn't recognize it. It wasn't in the area we were looking for. It was not what we recognized. Same here. The very answer to my prayers was in a package that was not familiar to me, and I didn't recognize it at first. I blew it off. I said no, but 4 more months went by. And in that time, I got worse, but I couldn't shake that one sweet little message of Heather just saying, Krista, I encourage you to pray about trying Plexus Slim. Just no pressure, just lots of sweetness and love. I couldn't shake it. I thought, surely not. Like, the Lord will not use a multi-level marketing product to heal me. I want him to heal me at the altar of a church. I want him to get the glory and nothing else. But you guys, I gave in. I gave in because I hit rock bottom. And why do we do that? Why do we wait until we hit that rock bottom of enough is enough? Why? Like, that's ridiculous. Don't do it. Don't wait till you've gotten to that point. But for me, my rock bottom was when I tried to take my life. I took the keys to our car. I did not say goodbye to my husband or my children. I left. I could not think straight any longer. I was so tired of pain. I felt like every day was pain. Every day was darkness. I went to bed hoping I wouldn't wake up. I woke up dreading that I had to go through another day. I hated living. I hated it, you guys. It was so real, and I desperately wanted to leave this earth as quickly as possible so Chad could find a new wife and my kids could have a new mom, because surely I thought this world would be a better place if Krista Deary would just get out of the way. That's where I was at. That's how messed up you can get if your body is out of whack, if your hormones are out of whack, you guys. And oh, how I wish I had just known that so much of that was a physiological issue in my body. Like, talk about lifting shame and lifting guilt, because I thought, why can't I just get my act together? Why can't I take my thoughts captive? Why am I not strong enough in the Lord to walk in the fullness of joy? I carried so much shame that I couldn't break free from the shackles of this. Being prayed over week after week, every prayer meeting I could be in, I was being prayed over, trying to be set free from this. When I returned home that night, which praise God that I did, but when I returned home, I saw a broken man, and I will never forget his face. I will never forget where he was sitting. I love that man so much, and he has been through so much with me and my health and my pregnancies and all the things. But his first words when I walked in was, Krista, I didn't think you'd come back. And I had to be straight up with him and say, I don't want to come back. I need you to help me leave this earth. Like, bless his heart. He's probably like, what are you talking about? But you guys, we had to just really figure out something. We were desperate for a change. We didn't have the money to see a doctor. We were climbing out of a financial pit. We had just lost everything when the market crashed in 2008. We could not afford to see a doctor. We really couldn't even afford Plexus. But I said, Chad, there's this girl, and she told me about this drink, and she thinks it can help me, and it has a 60-day money-back guarantee. And you guys, that's how it all started. It just started with the what if it could help? Like, it's worth a try, right? And so I committed to be consistent for 60 days. I knew enough about natural health to know that it's not a quick fix. I knew enough to realize I had treated my body poorly for many, many, many years. And so I could not expect something to fix me in a day or a week or a month, right? Like, that's just tomfoolery. But I was consistent. Every day drinking it. Pretty quickly I was craving 2 a day. So I drank 2 a day because I felt even better if I had 2. And 2 months in is when Chad looked at me. He was standing by our Keurig coffee pot. I was across the way dancing with my children. And he looked at me and he said, I have my wife back. I haven't seen you like this in years. My kids started making comments like, Mommy, you don't cry every day anymore. Remember how you used to cry, Mommy? And I wasn't eating chocolate every day. That was as much a miracle as healing from depression, let me tell you, because I just thought it was genetic that I had to have dark chocolate every afternoon, like clockwork. But then friends at church started noticing and making comments that there was a twinkle in my eyes, that I was smiling bigger, and they were asking me what changed. The only thing that had changed is I had tried a pink drink. I didn't understand it. I didn't know why it helped me, but I knew I was becoming the mom I wanted to be. I was present with my kids. I remember riding bikes with them and hopping on one of my kids' bikes and being silly and riding it. And that was like a big deal that Mama got on the bike and had the energy to do it, let alone just enjoyed herself, right? I was dancing around being silly. I was able to take care of our home. I was able to cook meals again. I was able just to function. I remember waking up in the morning and smiling when I saw my children. and being happy to be awake. I remember taking in our circumstances and being able to say, yes, this is still hard. Because friends, it is still hard every day, caregiving, let alone 8 children. It's hard, it's busy, it's all things crazy. But I was able to have mental clarity. The brain fog had lifted, the hormones had stabilized, my thinking was clear. I was able to say, yep, this is hard, but we got this. We can do this. When your health is better, everything is better. My spiritual walk improved. I began to pursue heart healing and begin to heal from all those things I had stuffed for so many years and start figuring out the love of a father again and just start over with him. My marriage improved. Our family improved. The tone of our home improved. But wouldn't you know, there were more people that needed this than just Krista Deary. And that's what compelled me to begin to share, to learn transparency, to tell my story, because on that dark night, when I drove around town looking for a lake to drive into, when I looked for a wall to crash our car into, I wish I knew one mom I could have reached out to who could have said, I get it, Krista. I know exactly what you're going through because I went through it too. And here's what helped me. And so I'm still moved by that to this day, because there's other people who are suffering in silence. You weren't made to suffer. You weren't made to have anxiety. You weren't made to have insomnia. You weren't made to be tired every day. You weren't made to just lay around. You weren't made to be snapping and edgy at your children. You weren't made to have headaches. You weren't made to have irritable bowel syndrome. You weren't made to have PCOS. You weren't made to have crazy cramps during your cycle and have it be completely irregular. You weren't made for this. You were made to thrive. You were made to be healthy. And yes, we live in a fallen world where our food is not the same as what God put in the Garden of Eden. It's just not. It's not. And so we have to supplement because we're not getting the nutrients that we need. Our air is different. The quality of our food is different. The quality of our water is different. We are not in heaven and we're not in the Garden of Eden. We're in this in-between time where we need a little bit of extra. And God will be faithful to lead you to what you need so you can fully walk out the plan of God over your life. I believe that 110%. It might be this, it might be something different, but if I can champion you into at least pursuing your best life, then I've done my job here tonight. So I encourage you to ask the questions, do the research, figure out what you need. You might have to change your regimen a little bit. You might have to tweak things here and there. You might have to be coachable and talk about whether or not you're pooping enough. You're gonna have to walk out the journey. It's not gonna be perfect. You might even detox a little bit, but it's going to be worth it. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. You guys holler anytime to either of us, to Lane or myself, or anyone here on this page, and ask the questions that you need to get answered. We are here to help you and to come alongside you on this journey. Love y'all.